All right, welcome back. Barry, the new owner of this, asked me some questions about the history of BKBJs and some of the other carbs. So let's have a history lesson. Now, as a disclaimer, I want everyone to understand that this is the extent of my knowledge about the situation. I may not be correct on all of this, and as with any time you're dealing with factory parts, there is some variability about when this happened, when that happened. So please don't hold what I'm saying as gospel. It's just what I know and what I've seen. Now, in 61 and later, the single 4 for the 406 and some 390s was this carb, C1AE-AM, 2328. You can see this one is dated the 5th month, 3rd week, 1961. And characteristics of it, it's 600 CFM, has the balance tube, has the transfer tube, has your regular Ford throttle shaft with a little vent lever, but there's sealed here, but here actually takes one of the little jiggle pins, so it's open vent. That was used as the single 4. For 390s and 406s back then, they used 3.2s. That was the performance option of multi-carbs. So we can set this one aside. Now, in 1963, 3 different carbs were used, primarily for the performance stuff. This is a 2652 C3AE. Let's see if we can actually see it. I have, yeah, C3AE 9510, which just means carburetor -C, and the list number is 2652-1. The date on this is 4th week, January 1963. And actually, let's go for a walk. This is kind of, I should have pulled these out, but I didn't. A customer, Ben and Phil, sent, they have original 2652s without the dash. It's C2CB. So these actually came on the first designed. These are kind of rough shape. I need to restore them. There's 2 of them, 1, 2. These came on the first lightweight cars in the first 63 Galaxies. All right, back to our table. I should have pulled those out, but I forgot. Whatever. Anyway, these carbs are 550 CFM, and you can tell that by the smooth, smaller Venturi, and the throttle plates on them are 107 and 116, 550 CFM, 2 of them. All right, so in 63 and in 64, the Q code Galaxy ran this, which is a 700 CFM carb, the biggest of its time. And the list number is 2668 C3AE-B. And the date on this is the 5th week of January 1963. And to my knowledge, this is the first carb I've ever seen with down leg boosters. I don't know if it was the first one, but it's the first one I've ever seen, and I've looked. And again, so this is a 4150. It has a secondary metering block, has an open vent in the secondary bowl, and an open vent in the primary bowl. All right, we can set this one aside, I think, if I have the room. So there you go, 2668, 700 or 715 CFM. You know, that through the years, and these have 1 11/16 throttle bore, through the years, they called this a 700 and another one a 715, another one a 720. Really, the only difference is sometimes they had slab throttle shafts. that's not exciting enough for me. As a carb builder, I see this as a 1 5/16 primary venturi and 1 3/8 secondary venturi. The throttle bores are 1 11/16. All right, so as a single 4 in 63, not all carbs were the Q code 2668. Some of them were 2599, and this is 2599 C3AEA. Okay, 600 CFM, 109, 118 throttle plates, which are 1 9/16 throttle bore. Again, we see the same throttle shaft with a little vent lever, even though we have open vent and open vent. And this one is dated 4/6/2. Let's see if I can find an earlier one. There's something I want to show you about this. Here's an earlier one. If you notice the casting here, just like the 2668, doesn't have this little knob. I don't know what the function originally was, but it doesn't have it. The original castings do not. And that's true of many of the 1962 and 63 carbs. So let's go check out the 2668 again. I wish I had a bigger table. Well, I do, but it's full of crap. Anyway, with the 2668, same casting. So, with later BKBJs, they have this knob also. Now, a while back, I did for Rod, I did a set of carbs that were what I thought was the first prototype of the BKBJs, and they were dated 3/3/3, so the third week of March 1963. And they're cool. You can look back through my build folders. They were C3A casting, and with the primary and the secondary bowls, just like BKBJs have. And they were cool because they didn't have a Ford part number, and they had the date over here, 3/3/3, and they had a hand stamped 2804, 2805. And so I talked to some other experts I know who are, smarter than me or have more historical experience with, and they basically said the same thing, which was they thought they were prototype carbs. And when you looked at the calibration, it was all the original parts were stamped like 2995 for the metering block, and everything was original to like what those would have been. And there were some changes though. They made certain things larger and more like the BKBJs. So BKBJs almost always have this knob, except for, if you notice, these ones do not. The first casting of these was supposed to be in June and July. These are the third week of July, 1963. And what I've seen in the past, I've never seen any earlier than this that are actually, factory carbs that weren't the prototypes. They use the same mold as the C3A, where it doesn't have this knob here. It still has the balance tube, still has your transfer tube, secondary bowl, primary bowl, open vented to the atmosphere. And once I think it's August or September, whenever I see these, they have the knob like that. So it's almost like Holley made one or two huge runs, and they used the C3A, the 2599 die cast, in order to do them. And so that's why we end up with these. Now, intakes. This is a low riser intake, and this is a low riser linkage, and this is common all through 63 and 64. And even here I have one that's from 1965. That's a 65 low riser. And in 65 at the same time you also change to the medium riser intake. This one here is a C7, but I normally, if it doesn't have the part number and it has the Ford stamp down there, it's a 65 medium riser. So let's get back to this here. This one here does not have a date. You had 3 intakes in 63. You had the C3AE94K. You also had a H and a J. My understanding, if you look at this, it looks kind of like someone just scratched that in there. My research and talking to people like Ben and a few other folks, they said that this was actually done at the factory, and I've seen 4 or 5 other instances of the exact same marking. The difference is the H and the J were accommodating the C3C, the 2652 carb, which had, you know, a 1.5 inch throttle bore. These have a 1 9/16. And so, oh, I have these bolted on, crap. But the idea is that they actually bored out the throttle bores of the intake to accommodate these carburetors and adjusted these. So they decided to do this before they actually invented the molds for the intake. And so they just factory altered them. And that's why, as far as I'm concerned, for a production line vehicle, this is one of the earlier ones that I'm aware of, or at least the earliest one I've seen. And again, you know, this is the internet. Some guy is going to be like, well, I've seen one that was from June, you know, but whatever. This is out of the 50 sets of BKBJs and intakes that I've seen, this is the earliest one that I'm aware of. And thankfully, Barry has a Galaxy, which is a July dated or July built car. And so this is a really cool fit for him, especially it being original linkage and original fuel log and original carbs. And thankfully, Dan sold me this entire setup for a pretty reasonable amount. And you know, through cleaning it and shop blasting it with zinc, it came out, it's not perfect. I mean, it was pretty dirty and greasy, but it came out pretty decent, and I replated everything, even things I probably shouldn't have. Originally they probably had a draft tube, but I added this and a PCV and just need to hook the hose up. But I believe Barry said he has a power brakes, so I'll put a different fitting in there. But anyway, I hope this little history lesson, and again, history lesson as far as Drew knows, was helpful or educational or pretty cool. Well, good luck. And if you know something I don't, please post it in the comments. I mean, for me, this is just something that's fun to learn. I'm not hung up on, you know, what I know or what I don't know. I just like fixing these things and going from this to this, you know, and putting them back into service. I think it's pretty cool. So anyway, all right.